Welcome to the inner sanctum of our home. This is our bedroom. This is where all the crucial conversations happen. This is where all the tough conversations happen. So we've invited you to our room for this fun conversation about
fasting. We asked you guys the other day over on my Instagram account the questions that you have about intermittent fasting because Landon talked about it on his Instagram account and it was a hot topic. A lot of you showed a lot of interest and had a lot of questions.
So we decided to make this little video. We'll answer some more questions. And I think what we probably ought to start with is a definition. We ought to understand what fasting is, right?
Yep. He's taught me a lot. And the reason why we're doing this is because he feels very knowledgeable about it because this is what his research, his thesis, he's put hours and hours into this topic. So I would say he definitely is a professional and knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, so fasting, what is it? What does it mean? When you look in the general media, there's going to be lots of different definitions of fasting, right? The ones that we usually talk about are intermittent fasting, or times of period when you go without any calories. So for example, Julie and I, sometimes Julie, mostly I, you've been doing better at it, we will use an overnight fast, meaning from the time we stop eating at night, we sleep through the night, and so we naturally fast. We don't eat during that period. And then we extend that overnight fast to be a little bit longer into the day. So typically, when you wake up, we don't eat breakfast, and then we'll eat lunch either at the normal time around noon, or I usually wait till about 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
So I've already looked at some of the questions, and a lot of people say, well, what are the benefits? Why would I want to do this? Why would I want to extend not eating?
Yeah, so there's lots of benefits from fasting, right? A major one that a lot of people want the benefits of is weight management. They want better body composition. They want to lose fat and be more lean. And so going without food causes your body to start using fat, the stored fat that you have, for fuel. If you don't give it any fuel, it has to turn to your stores of fuel, which are fat. And so it'll help you that way. But being in a fasted state has tons of benefits. If you are prone to cardiac problems in your family, those are reduced. If you are prone to Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease, that is reduced. If you are prone to memory loss, like anything neurological, even recovering from a brain injury, they've shown that fasting can help improve the outcomes of brain injuries. There's all sorts of cognitive benefits to help you think more clearly. There's just, longevity is becoming a new thing. You'll actually live longer if you continue to exercise fasting for an extended period of time throughout your life. So there's all sorts of awesome benefits that come from fasting.
One of the questions that I had was, and maybe a lot of you will have the same question, you always hear breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So why now are we saying don't eat breakfast?
Sure. No, and that's the tricky part, right? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. But what does breakfast mean? Literally, it means break fast, right? So what the meal you use to break your fast, whenever that is, if it's an overnight fast and you just stopped eating at night, you wake up and eat breakfast at 7 a.m., that's an important meal. You need to have lots of nutrients in those meals. If you choose to eat later.
Am I just blonde or am I just getting this? Break fast. Breakfast?
Yes.
So if people work night shifts, because a lot of people ask this, well, what if I work a night shift and I'm awake all night or whatever, so whatever meal they eat to end their fast is their breakfast.
Yeah.
Break fast. Oh my gosh, okay, I just got that.
Yeah. So that is a very important meal. Like, you want to have lots of nutrients, lots of protein, lots of vegetables, things that will help your body utilize what it needs to get it started for the day.
I am like, ah! Okay, I'm doing a 16-hour fast. I was wondering if it really helps to lose weight, and if so, how much?
That's a great question. So a 16-hour fast can help you lose weight, right? So if you restrict, that's an awesome time frame, right? If you can go 16 hours without food and then 8 hours in a window with food, wonderful. Being without food for 16 hours can be extremely beneficial, but even more impactful will be that 8 hours that you are eating. You want to make sure the food that you have in that time is nutritious. You're not over-consuming to make up for the hunger you felt during that 16 hours. You want to be able to monitor and keep those. You can consume the calories you need, but don't over-consume, and that can be kind of a tricky balance.
Does it really work? I heard that if people take a break for 1 to 3 days, the body relapses crazy.
No, so there's actually people that fast what's called alternate day fasting. So there are people that fast for a day and eat regular for a day, then fast for a day, then eat regular for a day. So your body reacts to whatever you do it to, and any fasting is better than no fasting.
I do it occasionally. I mean, I'm not crazy about it, but basically I will try and extend my breakfast, or I'll eat about maybe between 10 and noon instead of like 8 or 9 in the morning. And I probably do that like 3-4 times a week, and I feel like it helps. Not necessarily to lose weight, but just to feel healthier, that I'm not constantly putting food in my belly.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing too, is just a digestive rest is what we call it, or a gut rest. There's questions about, does it help Crohn's disease? Does it help ulcerative colitis? If you think about constantly feeding your body something, your body is constantly having to produce enzymes and chemicals to help digest everything, and it never rests. Fasting gives it that opportunity to literally just be calm, to rest, to catch back up to itself, and then when you do feed it, it can act appropriately.
How is intermittent fasting different from disordered eating behaviors?
Ooh, great question. Actually, that's one that comes up a lot. You know, if I fast a lot, is that an eating disorder? Am I anorexic? And the answer is no. They're very different in the sense that when you fast, you should be consuming the same number of calories that you do when you don't fast. So versus an eating disorder, when you are chronically restricting calories to the point where you're not meeting the needs that your body has. So I don't know if that makes sense, if that's a little too complicated, but essentially you're not feeding yourself enough in an eating disorder. In fasting, you're eating the same amount, but you're shrinking the window in which you eat those calories.
Can you drink liquids while you're fasting, specifically coffee?
Ooh, good question. So I actually had somebody message me this, and I had to do a little research on it. Drinking is very important during fasting. You want to stay hydrated. You get about 20% of your water through food. So if you're not eating food, then you need to make up for that somehow, so you need to actually drink extra water. Other drinks can mimic calories, and it can be kind of tough. Coffee doesn't actually seem to produce a response in the body, as long as it's black coffee. If you add calories through creamer or sugar, that's going to produce the same amount of reaction as if you just ate food. So if you drink a black coffee or a tea without any additives, those are fine. I am just a purist. I stick to water. I don't stick to anything bubbly. I don't stick to anything with caffeine. Caffeine can stimulate some stuff too that can almost kind of break your fast. So if you want to be a purist, yes, drink lots of water. Otherwise, kind of stay away from it. But I know somebody's got to have their morning Joe to get going. So if that's got to be you, just make sure it's black.
Someone asked about lemon water.
Oh yeah, lemon water is great. So lemon water is good. If you add a little squeeze of lemon into your water, it gives a little...
Someone says, how do you recommend starting intermittent fasting? Just start right away or ease into it?
Definitely eased into it. And you can probably attest to this too more.
Definitely. Like, I've been starting it a little bit, and so like I said earlier, I just extend my breakfast even 1, 2, or 3 hours into the day instead of eating first thing in the morning. I just try and push it a little bit, and it's gotten easier even though I do it a few times a week.
Yeah. And you know yourself better than anybody, right? If you have that willpower and you can do anything, if you're one of those people that can just start something and you're stuck to it, great. I mean, try going all out. But most people, myself included, we've had to ease into it. I usually will fast 16 to even 22 hours a day, but I did not start that way. It started just moving breakfast back a little bit. You know, you'd sit at an hour or two, and every week move it back a little bit, and eventually your body will adjust to that.
Is intermittent fasting safe during pregnancy and postpartum?
I would recommend not, because you need more calories than what you usually do when you're supporting a fetus, right? So either in your belly or if you're breastfeeding, typically we don't recommend doing fasting just because your baby needs a little extra and you're the one that has to provide that. So eat regular.
I've had 4 babies and I definitely would not do that. Not worth it.
Yeah.
No. Can you eat anything you want in the 8 hours you aren't fasting? Can you get a migraine in the hours you are fasting?
Yes and yes. So you can eat whatever you want in an 8-hour time frame, but again, you want to eat things that are helpful for your body. You are going however long without food, and so the time you do have to eat food, you want to make sure that that's going to give your body the fuel it needs to go for the next time that doesn't have food. So if you're feeding it junk and garbage and soda, yeah, no. You need to give it a lot of protein, a lot of vegetables, things that are going to sustain it for a long period.
Can you get migraines when you aren't fasting? A lot of people have asked about getting headaches when they're fasting.
Yeah, can you get migraines when you're fasting? Absolutely, especially if you're not staying hydrated, and especially if you jump into it too hard. Your body's not used to that. So take it slow, drink plenty of fluids. If you get migraines regularly anyway, keep some magnesium on hand. Also, drinking fluids with electrolytes in them, some salts, that will actually help keep you more hydrated and can help prevent those migraines.
A lot of people have asked, tell me what you guys eat in a day. I would love to see what type of food that we do eat. And it's funny because sometimes Landon has broken his fast with a big juicy hamburger, but that's not always the case. We eat, I want to say normal, to us that's normal food. We eat all the basic foods. We eat starches like breads, carbohydrates, sugars. We eat treats. We eat a huge wide range of foods. Like we just eat fruits. Everything. We eat all food. There's no food that we don't eat. So it's just moderation in everything. I feel like we don't go crazy with one type of food.
Right.
So
we try to eat clean and simple and wholesome.
Why did I gain weight doing intermittent fasting? I gained 6 pounds in 3 weeks.
So that could be a couple of things. One, usually the reason people lose weight at the beginning of an intermittent fast is actually mostly water weight. As your fat starts to break down, there's a lot of water stored in your fat, right? And so as you break that down and excrete that water, you immediately lose. I mean, a lot of people will lose 10 pounds in the first week and think, this is the best thing ever. But it's actually not 100% like sustainable. So it could be that your body's not as attuned to breaking that down and getting rid of that right off the bat. It could be that time period that you are eating, you're over consuming to make up for the food that you didn't get in the first period. So I'd just say be really cognizant of what you're eating. Try to eat tons of veggies, drink plenty of water, and stick to it. Your body will react and it will start. 3 weeks actually isn't that long. It can take up to 7 or 8 weeks sometimes for your body to adapt to this and understand what's going on. It might be in shock, right? And so it needs a little while to figure out like, oh, what we're doing is okay. It's safe for me. I can relax and let go.
Would you suggest people with diabetes intermittent fasting?
Depends on your diabetes, right? Type 1 diabetics have a difficult time maintaining their blood sugars because their body does not produce insulin. It can't bring in sugars as easily as somebody else. That being said, type 2 diabetics are a little bit of a different story. Type 2 diabetics produce insulin, but their cells in their body aren't sensitive to it. And fasting is actually shown to increase the sensitivity of your cells. So the insulin you do produce will actually help drive the sugars in and keep you regulated. So intermittent fasting will help a type 2 diabetic have fewer symptoms, I guess.
Do you clean fast?
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Clean fast, I would assume. So it may be just a water fast, if that's what you're assuming a clean fast is. It might be just a water only fast, which is, yes, that's what I do, water only. There's also what's called a dry fast, where it's literally nothing goes in your body during a fast. No water, no fluids, no calories, nothing. And I don't do that. I love my kidneys. I want to keep them happy, so I keep fluids going.
How do you stop yourself from craving sugar and binging when the fast is over?
Yeah. So that comes down to, one, if it's not around, you can crave it all day, but you can't have it, right? And two, you got to give into your cravings sometimes. So I don't know, I think we do a pretty good job of having some snacks around, last night I literally sat on the couch with a tub of ice cream. Julie was doing stuff and I'm like,
let them do it.
I just kept going.
I told her, you should probably stop
there? And I'm like, yeah, when I'm done. I mean, it's just like sometimes you crave it and you do it, right? But I think being in tune with what's around you and only bringing food into your home, into your surroundings that you know are going to be helpful.
I make cookies and cake and brownies, and I used to, in the morning, it would be there on the counter, and I would eat a cookie for breakfast, I would have a bite of brownie, whatever was on the counter, I would eat it in the morning. but I have found that I don't do that anymore. The first thing that I try to eat, I try not to have it be like the sweets. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it just helps. I think it's all up in your mind, and it takes practice and takes time. And
Yeah. To really not binge after a fast, often a lot of people will break their fast with a high protein meal. Protein takes the longest of all of the macronutrients to break down, whether it's fat. I guess your macronutrients are fat, protein, and carbohydrates, right? Of all three of those, your protein takes the longest to break down. It's in your stomach and digestive system longer, so it seems to satisfy people longer and keep you from overeating and binging.
how young do you recommend doing this? That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, really, I actually started fasting when I was 8 years old. And a lot of people in our religion we fast as members of our church, we fast once a month, right? So that's kind of been ingrained in us for a long time. And we usually do that for about a 16 to 18 hour span. And so I started when I was 8. It was uncomfortable. I didn't love it. I haven't done it every month. But I think about, in your teenage years, if you want to start doing this, it's totally appropriate.
With Emma, when we do our once a month fast with our church, with Emma, I told her, let's just push your breakfast until like 10 o'clock. I don't make her wait until after church. I just say, let's just not eat breakfast, and then around 10 o'clock I'll give you something small to eat.
Yeah.
So.
And while there's no age restrictions, I mean, if you want to do what we've kind of done with Emma, ease your way into it and see how your body feels. If you feel like you're dragging through the school day, if you feel like this just makes you feel awful and lightheaded, maybe fasting's not for you. Maybe this is just not, or maybe not the right timing for you.
What are the top 3 simple lifestyle changes a person can do to better their health?
Yeah. 3 simple things you can do. Exercise, right? You don't have to go all out, but you do need to get out. You need to move your body in some way, shape, or form every day as much as you can. Even if that's a day of stretching and becoming in tune with your body, all that's very helpful. So that's simple. You can do most of that at home, honestly. Fasting is easily becoming one of the easiest ways you can improve your health. With all of the health benefits we've kind of talked about already, going without calories for a period of time will improve your health. And then when you do eat, definitely tons of vegetables. Veggies are like, we need to do better at this, by the way. Veggies are like the number one thing. If you can have tons of vegetables in your life will be good. Vegetables, fast, exercise.
What I like about fasting, and a lot of people have asked about diets, fasting isn't like a diet. I don't have to plan my entire meals differently. I don't have to change up what I'm cooking. I can still cook and eat the basic foods that we do, and I do include vegetables. But that's what I like about it, is it's not a diet. It's not changing up what I already eat.
I'm not counting calories. I'm not buying these special meal kits. I'm not doing anything crazy. Yeah, it's simple. You eat what you want to eat, just in a smaller time.
Is intermittent fasting okay for someone that naturally has a hard time keeping weight on?
Yeah, so somebody like Ellie, if you guys follow Jared and Ellie, she has a hard time maintaining weight, right? Yeah. And fasting can still be beneficial for all the other health reasons, and you don't necessarily have to lose weight while you're fasting. I have not lost a single pound while I've been fasting, and I've been fasting for almost 6 months, almost every day of the week. I'm consuming the same number of calories, and that's what you have to be careful of. You still have to consume enough calories to give your body what it needs. Don't turn this into an eating disorder. Keep it healthy.
Does it matter if you change your eating hours during a week? My schedule changes daily.
Yeah, so that gets a little tricky, right? You want your body to become used to understanding when you're feeding it. And fasting is harder when you're not in a rhythm, when your body is expecting not to be fed for this period of time, then you hurry and feed it, and then you don't go, and it's just, So the more consistent you can be with fasting, the better. And a lot of people, Julie included, has worked night shifts, right? As a nurse, you work these night shifts and you think, well, how can I fast? Because I'm working the night shift one day and then I'm regular the next day, and fasting can actually help you with those schedule shifts. If you can find a way to eat on a regular time frame, no matter what your shifts are doing, then that'll help regulate your circadian rhythm, the way you sleep, the way you think, and then your body just understands, hey, this is how I eat, regardless of whatever my schedule is when I'm awake.
when I worked night shifts, I could have been so much better. I ate throughout the night because I thought, oh, well, I have to stay awake, so I might as well eat. And I would eat gummy bears from the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Or
garbage food.
People would, there would be other employees that they just ate during the night. So I just thought, oh, well, I'm awake. It's night. I'm trying to stay awake. Let me just eat more food. But I did not have to do that. If I could go back and do things differently, I definitely would have eaten dinner before my night shift, gone in, and then maybe ate like a small light snack in the middle of the night if I needed to. But there was no need for me to eat as much food as I did during those night shifts.
Yeah.
I think anyway.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of international travelers, when they make transcontinental flights, they will only eat on the time frames that they were eating back at home. Even though it's a totally different time frame where they're living and where they're visiting, they will stick to their time frames of eating because that maintains their body. Like, their jet lag is so much less. So take it from them, I guess.
This is another good question. Isn't a calorie no matter what time frame you eat it in?
Sure. No, absolutely. And like we said, we want to eat about the same amount of calories. If just to maintain our weight, we need the same number of calories. But there's a lot of research that shows even eating, if you ate, say, 2,000 calories a day, if you ate that in a 4-hour window versus a 20-hour window, you get so many more benefits. Even though it's the same number of calories, the same types of calories, if you ate pure sugar garbage, but you ate it in 4 hours, it would be more beneficial to your body than spreading that out over the day. So yes, calories are calories, eat them when you want, but the benefits will come if you shrink that window of when you're consuming those.
I love how passionate you are about all
I know,
this.
it fires me up.
He's very passionate about this. Talks about it all the time. Thoughts on intermittent fasting every other day?
Yeah, so again, that's called alternate day fasting. And so there's a couple of different mentalities there. You can totally do that. Some people are purists. They say, one day I eat whatever I need to. It's just a regular day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Next day, I wake up and I eat nothing. Until the next day, then I eat something. That's a little harder, right? You go 24 to 28 hours without food. You just don't eat at all in that day. Another alternative is you eat regular on one day. On your fasting day, it's not a complete calorie restriction. A lot of people will have a 400 or 500 calorie meal, maybe around lunchtime, you know, with some high protein veggies, and then continue their fast. So it's just enough to give you a little bit of bump in the middle of your fast, but not to do a whole lot, and then you can continue to ride out the fast. So very beneficial for sure.
This isn't a question, but one thing that I have not been very good about doing is we'll feed the kids, we'll eat dinner together around 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and then we go to bed really late, and so at 10 o'clock at night, I'm like, I'm really hungry, let's eat something. And so we eat something at 10 o'clock at night, but that's something that I think that I'm doing better about. The other night I was hungry, and I wanted to eat something like a bowl of cereal, but I said, let's just go to bed. So going to bed on an empty stomach is okay. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's, I don't know, just better for me to not eat right before I go to bed. So, yeah. Something to work on.
And there's not a lot of research out there about how fasting affects sleep. Some people just that talk about it say, oh, I sleep great when I'm fasting. Some people say, I can't sleep if I'm hungry. And that's actually part of the study that I'm doing. We're measuring sleep, different sleep quantifiers, and we're going to see if while people are fasting, do they sleep better or is it harder for them to sleep? And we'll give you guys the answer when we have it.
How do you shift your eating window if there's a dinner reservation that is in the fasting window?
Yeah, so fasting only works, anything only works if it's compliant, if it works for you, right? You're only going to do something that works for you. That's why some people can do Atkins diet because they love steak, and I can eat steak every day of the week and it doesn't matter. That's why some people can do Jenny Craig because they love counting their calories. I don't know. Fasting will work for you if that's what works for you, and sometimes it's okay to be flexible. If you're like, hey, it's my fasting window, but I'm going to offend my best friend that came in from 3 states over because I'm just going to sit and watch them eat because I can't eat. It's like, no, you got to have fun. You got to enjoy life, and life is to be made to have fun. And so if you can stick to it 99% of the time and make some exceptions every once in a while, absolutely.
If I do intermittent fasting, will I lose hair?
You will not lose hair as long as you're maintaining your vitamin and mineral intake, right? So your hair is very dependent on a lot of different vitamins and minerals. So you may want to supplement while you're fasting if you decide to fast with some extra vitamins and minerals to help make sure you maintain your body's health that way.
I have heard that if you fast too long, it ruins your metabolism. Is that true? I personally love doing 16-8.
Yeah, that's great. No, fasting will not ruin your metabolism. If anything, it makes it more efficient, right? It gives it a break like we talked about. It gives your body a time to just rest. And then when it is engaged, when you do provide food and calories for it, then it's ready to go. So no, you will actually do yourself a favor by fasting.
Landon reminds me of Ross Geller from the TV sitcom Friends. I've heard that before.
I must be a goofball. Oh, this is funny. Yeah. When is a fast broken? I read if your tongue touches something sweet, the fast is broken. Is that true? What about toothpaste? So there's not a whole lot out there on even artificial sweeteners, but the idea is that, yes, your body immediately reacts to things that it perceives are coming, right? So if it starts to taste sweet things, or anything really, your gastric juices start flowing and says, hey, we got a meal coming or something, so it starts producing stuff, which can hinder it a little bit. As long as you're really not actually consuming things, it's going to be a very minimal response. That stimulus goes away and your body's like, oh.
Camera cut out, so you may have missed the last few words, but I think we got most of the questions.
Yep. One final question that a lot of people ask, is it safe to fast while you're exercising? And the answer is yes, and that's actually part of the study that we're looking at as well, one of my major studies that I'm doing at school. There are a lot of people who are beginning to fast, and while they're in that fast, go out and exercise. And that can bring a lot more benefits. The chemicals in your body that increase in a fast increase even more while you're exercising. So those can give some added benefits. Yes, it's hard if you're not used to it. I wouldn't go all out on a Ironman while you're fasting. Ease into it a little bit and see how you feel, but that can add some extra benefits as well. Anyway, we super appreciate all of your questions. Hopefully this kind of gave you an idea. There's so much information out there about fasting and what it is and what it's not and what it's going to do to you. At the end of the day, again, fasting, it will only work for you if that's what you choose to do, if that works for your lifestyle. It has so many benefits. Ease into it, enjoy it, and I promise you will feel so much better when you do it. I've done it for 6 months or more now, pretty much every day, and I've felt like an increased ability to think a little bit. Maybe not. Actually, I was telling you the other day that I'm a little fuzzy still.
Well, so here's a question, because sometimes I feel like I've been doing this for a while, and I don't feel really any benefits. But are a lot of them like more long-term benefits? Because
yeah, right.
I'm kind of doing it more for the longevity of things. I'm not doing it to instantly lose weight or anything. Sure. I'm thinking of the long run.
Yep, and that's exactly right. You may not notice any benefits, but you will improve your overall health in a long-term span. Yep, for sure.
Well, that was fun. I even learned some extra things tonight. So thank you, Landon, for all your wisdom and knowledge.
We'll continue to share with you as we learn some more, but if you have questions, head over to mine or Julie's Instagram page. We'll be happy to answer anything else you've got. Until then, we'll see you.
Thank you, guys.
We just got done filming for you guys, and Julie came up with this brilliant thing. She said, oh, we should have mentioned this, so we'll hurry and add it in here. She said, even if you don't want to do fasting of any kind, you want to eat your 3 meals a day, that's fine. But try to cut out those snacks in between the meals. Those can be specific snacks, and if you're fueling for something specific, that's fine. But at the same time, you can overconsume calories by inadvertently just giving yourself snacks kind of throughout in between these meals, and it's really easy to eat tons of calories just within between your meals. So if that's one way to start for you, that's a great idea. Thank you, Julie.